Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The super team was made official last night. Los Angeles Thieves confirming the roster that Nature reckons is the most excited he's ever been for any team he's put together under the 100 Thieves organization. And you can most certainly see exactly why. The boys on a new podcast last night telling all about how things went down over the last couple of weeks, the formation of this roster, how it nearly never happened when Gentlemate's coming into play, and also who the new head coach is going to be at the team, despite the fact that it's not officially been announced yet. Very much into your thoughts and all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty of course to get into today as ever. Firstly, Rencor visa approved going to Heretics. We thought they were going to sell ReeaL over to Ultra. That never happens. They wanted more than 60k. Ultra were not willing to pay more than 60k. So Rencor will be there. That's kind of bad news as well for Vikul. The fact that ReeaL is staying, because Vikul is believed to be the guy getting replaced here by Rencor. We shall see what they decide to do. Another team though that has finally made their mind up, it seems, on at least a plan is Looney and the boys over at Minnesota Rocker under G2 Esports. They are putting together this roster, apparently. So, look, let's just start with the positives, I guess, and we'll look at the SMG duo, because Estriel was on the team, right, for the World Cup, and he did a solid job for the roster. He was one of, towards the end of the year, potential Rookie of the Year candidates last season, did a great job for the Los Angeles Grillers, probably their best player on LAN, and I think proved to be a solid CDL caliber SMG player. So, Estriel alongside Hook, I don't really have any problems with that. Estriel's a good gap filler, like he's going to basically do the job for the team, and Hook is going to be maybe the more high upside player if he's on point. And to be fair, Hook in Black Ops 6, he should be an impactful player. He's going to have his inconsistencies, he's going to have his up and downs, sure, but of the options available, I think an Estriel Hook SMG duo is not the worst thing I've ever seen. I actually kind of like it. The AR duo, well, I mean, maybe we got to reconsider this. Look, just in my opinion, this whole recycling of certain players around the league, the idea of Arcetes and even Arcetes and Hook teaming together again, I think is a question, because they've teamed together for like the start of the last 2 seasons in a row and it's never worked well. Is it really going to be third time's the charm there? Doubtful. And then Arcetes and Porlex, I know that like they're good friends, they get along well, but is that the AR duo to take the Minnesota Rocket to be a competitive franchise again? Like, I don't see it personally. The other option is Clay and Geo, apparently. Those are the other 2 ARs. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't know what you guys think. Geo for sure I would be looking for, because, I mean, Geo I think did a pretty killer job on Legion last year and should absolutely be getting a spot somewhere as a flex player in my opinion. Who you pair him with on an AR perspective, that's a question, but if Slash is going to Ravens, if Accuracy is retiring, if Attach is going to Cloud9, Accuracy is probably going to be coaching Cloud9, then Clay makes sense as an option too. And Clay back with Hook, I see some positives there. I'm still not sure it's pretty, but I think it might be better. I don't know. Clay was in the replies saying he's waiting for the call, basically. So, yeah, his feeling is probably this team ain't all that, and maybe if it was himself and Geo with Estriel and Hook, that would be somewhat more competitive. My look at the league right now is that there are some teams at the top of the league that are, going to be dominant, right? The big 3 should be there pretty much every single championship Sunday. Outside of that, though, there will be some teams that are better and worse, but many of these rosters we've seen seem reasonably solid. I'm just concerned about that Rocket team, I'm not going to lie. And Cobra, of course, was another player that we thought might be linked to that organization. Apparently no longer the case, because he basically says this league is terrible, what are we doing here? And meanwhile, Gwyn, who was rumored on a team alongside TJ, Slasher, and who was the 4th player over there? Mac, of course, looking to make a potential return to the CDL as well. He reckons that he's going to keep on winning, so place your bets right now. So we'll see how good that Ravens team is going to be if, of course, it comes true. But we've got to talk about Los Angeles Thieves. It was a big rumor of the last couple of weeks and the big confirmation of last night, and Nadeshot, understandably, is absolutely buzzing about this, and for very good reason. It was hilarious he was on stream, because HyDra, I think he'd changed his bio or his name or something, but he'd not tweeted anything, and he was like, Paco, you happy for this or not? So after a little bit of pressure Patrick Hearing then does tweet out, excited to join Los Angeles Thieves, exclamation mark. It's time to win more trophies, right? And that, of course, is HyDra's absolute #1 goal. These guys are serious winners and competitors on this organization, and HyDra will be joined again by Cinder. Now, there's some questions on exactly why it's not ReeaL. I mean, you know, just you could choose one of the two in essence, I suppose. Shane is over there as the assistant coach. He's been to Jacob over the last couple of years at Thieves, done a pretty solid job. I think Shane makes a lot of sense in that role. Incredibly vibey guy, is going to ensure team morale is high, great man-to-man coach, and then, you know, it's difficult to have that and also do all the other coaching in the game. It's probably better to have a double whammy, as it were, with one main coach and then the assistant coach. That seems to be how it's been with the Thieves over the last couple of years with Cap and then Shane. So they wanted to replace Cap. They had options, Cinder or ReeaL. ReeaL, of course, worked with HyDra from a very, you know, young age when he didn't even know English yet. So that's kind of been almost not like a duo, but ReeaL and HyDra have been together as a coach-player duo for quite some time. And, of course, no longer the case because it's going to be Cinder instead. And Cinder says, after talks with Cloud9, we've decided to go separate ways, and for me, pursuing options heading into the new season. I appreciate every single person. So, you know, cool to see Cinder's career in a way because he was a solid player back in the day. I remember he was on that dream team roster back in Black Ops 3. I didn't even mean to mention Black Ops 3. It just happens because what a great year and a great season. But the point was, it was kind of interesting during that year because at Stage 2 playoffs, he was on Dream Team with, like, what was it? Killer, Chino, and then Diabolic, I think, like, was a pretty heavy slayer on that game. So, anyway, that was the team at the time. A solid player. He had some decent results from, you know, here and there. And then, of course, he became a coach, was highly rated by the OpTic Chicago boys, then has joined the Subliners, and the rest is history since then. And HyDra gave him lots of credit in the podcast yesterday when all the guys were saying, yeah, he's coming along for the ride as well. Najot was talking about it. The players had a whole segment at the end of the podcast where they talked about Cinder coming on board and how impactful that was going to be. Although, as of recording at least, they've not announced Cinder. I mean, Cloud9 as well, this is an interesting thing to note. They've not said anything about HyDra. Subliners haven't said anything about HyDra. The player that won them their world championship and won the MVP, you know, is there going to be a goodbye? Are we going to say goodbye to Cinder? Like, what's going on over here? So it's all a little bit interesting behind the scenes, but I definitely wanted to share a couple of minutes here from this podcast where the guys are talking about all sorts of stuff. Of course, Kenny was, reacting, just says congrats to the guys in the team, of course, former organization. There was always questions if this team was going to be out of form. Should somebody have stepped in and prevented it from happening? You know, I think OpTic and FaZe are fine to stick it out, but Najot did say in the show that given that potentially Gentle Mates and obviously with the Falcons coming into play, there are going to be more organizations over the coming years with money to spend. So if there was any time that Thieves could put together a roster like this, now probably was the time, because next off season, you know, especially if like FaZe might make a change or OpTic might make a change or whatever, and Falcons might not have the greatest year with their Saudi guys, you know, they might try and step in, and at that point, good luck forming a super team again. So I think that's why Najot was so keen to make it happen right now, especially with rumors about Carmine Corp, right? That's what they were talking about. I thought was fascinating, that they believed, Najot, based on his information, that it was Carmine Corp, another massive and bigger French organization that was coming into the CDL, not Gentlemates. Gentlemates is a big org owned by Gataga, but Carmine Corp is like next level in many ways in that scene, and he believed, according to his contacts, it was Carmine Corp who were coming in instead, and therefore he was like, well, there's no way I'm keeping HyDra now type thing, and they had serious cash. Turned out it was Gentlemates, and it was a difficult battle, but Thieves did win the battle, in part thanks to Envoy, basically just giving the 100 Thieves organization a massive rep and saying, look, like, we know this organization, I know this organization, they're going to treat us right, Najot's the GOAT, like, you know, we got to do that rather than taking a bit of a gamble on this Gentlemates situation. But that's what Najot said, that this Gentlemates team that's going to take over Gorillas and probably going to field Skyz and Kiz and those guys we talked about yesterday, and Priestahh and, what is it, Linz, that's the team before, just if you guys didn't see yesterday's video, then the rumour had it that they were going to try and sign Scrap and HyDra and Envoy and potentially +1 or whatever the case was going to be. And Najot had to step in and say, all right, guys, you know, we're going to make it work to live in Texas. They had to match the offer effectively, and then they decided to take the deal. But yeah, this is a bit of behind the scenes, how the super team was formed, and all the drama behind the roster.
Dante got released, so like we were talking to Dante, at the very least. We were talking to Dante, but then I was talking to Paco about going over there. Sorry, Nade. But anyways, besides that, it was very early in the Rostermania. It was real early in the.
You thought we were gonna let him go too. That's crazy.
Yeah, right.
No, if you guys didn't, we had Preston.
All right, great.
You were DMing me, but like, respectfully, I wasn't answering because like,
Fuck, bro.
I was just trying to figure out what was going on. So
I'm
like,
trying to figure out what Paco was doing.
exactly.
Like
So,
what Matt said, there's a lot of moving parts.
we
Got to get bought out. He's got to get bought
It was,
out.
bro. It started out with us being like, all right, we're just gonna get Dante, make no other changes, nothing
On
too
Thieves,
crazy. Yeah, on Thieves still.
Okay.
So nothing too crazy. And then Paco hit me up, and then I was like, all right, things might get crazy. And then I started finding out like towards the end of the beta about what's going on with Toronto.
Yeah.
Which is, y'all can talk about that.
My thing was, I mean, I was trying to get to Paco. And I just knew Paco, like, we probably have the best team. And I just wanted to find someone who could complement Paco the best, who was a free agent, who we could get. And I was like, fuck, we got to get Dill. So then I was like, me and Dill are a package. And I was basically, me and Paco were a package. So it was just like us three were kind of a package, just trying to figure out where we could go, what would work. End of the day, Dan worked. And we're fucking here.
What
classic
do you
losers run.
think was like kind of like the breaking point for you, where you were gonna go try to navigate and explore other options aside from Kiz, Caesar, and Sib?
I mean, we just couldn't win like any majors. We just won one major without like
Somehow.
yeah, that was just not matching. We're just not matching well. So I was just thinking of
here because you guys, besides Sib, you, Kiz, and Skyz seem like a pretty good foundational, core.
I
So
would
you just
rather
need a new environment sometimes.
No, I don't have the wall.
That's okay, Paco. How would you say it in French?
I will say, Gentleman's was a possibility. We were actually very interested in going to them.
Yeah.
If we're going to be
You're just
honest.
trying to make me feel better about giving you more fucking money.
But it wasn't.
I wasn't
Carmen
going to get
Corp.
into the money, but hey, gotta go Taco.
See, I heard Carmine from a few people, not just 100 Thieves camp, not just other players and orgs. Like, to me, to hear that Carmine was never a part of the conversation is actually wild because of the people that I trust.
It was hilarious.
That I heard from Carmine.
Bro, you know how
Bro,
when you called us, when you
almost-
called both of us, and you said, "Yeah, we know Carmine wants to buy you."
I
Bro,
almost-
I was dying.
I was
laughing.
almost in tears. I was
Bro,
almost in tears.
I was like this, and I was dying laughing. I was like, "Oh my god."
Carmine might have more money though.
Yo, you know what's
Carmine
fucked up though?
Well, not really, because they're on like League of Legends, like the biggest league in the league.
Okay, fair.
Interesting to hear HyDra's perspective as well on the Cloud9 team. The fact that, he just wasn't happy that they weren't able to get success. I mean, he was with those guys, Skyz and Kiz, for the last 2 years. They won, and Kiz even longer than that during the Vanguard season. Sure, they won champs second this year, but, in the majors, they weren't good enough, generally speaking. He did say that if they'd have won champs, they'd have probably stuck it out, and fair enough. But to be fair, he might have said that last year, and they made a change for Priestahh, of course. But yeah, HyDra wanted something new, understandably so. Obviously, the Toronto guys, Scrap and Envoy, they were keen to stay. Well, they would have stayed. I think the point that Scrappy was making is he was kind of down to team with those guys again. But obviously, if HyDra turned out to be available, which he was, then there's another question, isn't there? And I think eventually things worked out best for certainly all of these guys. Maybe not for all parties. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Toronto team, I'm sure, over the coming days. Before we close out the video, though, how about this? So this Saturday, as in tomorrow, we have a 2 versus 2 LAN tournament in LA for $10,000. The K-Sun's putting on Saturday 3 Eastern. Teams and details below. And the teams, by the way, are absolutely sensational. So it's a 2v2 tournament casted by MettalZ, which is sensational, refereed by Zuma, which is sensational, and these are the rosters. Simp and aBeZy, the Tiny Terrors, that's a team of 2. Scrap and a HyDra, another team of 2. Shotzzy Drazah, which is kind of fascinating, so, could have been Shotzzy's teammate in OpTic had he chosen the offer, but he didn't, and of course Kenny joined instead, and then Shifty Ahsoka, who of course Warzone duo, so no Biffle in there. So this is going to be fascinating. It's going to be gunfight, but also search and destroy. And I mean, who are your picks for this one? It's like actually really tough to call. Obviously, you're going to take one of the CDL duos, respectfully. Although we'll see how much of a fight Shifty puts up. And, if him and Ahsoka do pretty well, maybe Shifty's going to get a knock for an offer in the CDL next season, which he seems to want to get. But yeah, we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, more tomorrow morning. But nonetheless, still something that's going to be actually great to watch, I'm sure, this weekend. These are the player cards of that Los Angeles Thieves roster. And, well, on paper, there are very few, if any, weaknesses. Whether they can capitalize on the success this team should have, that is nonetheless a serious question. But very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
I'm not kidding.
Yo,
8
hey.
unanswered texts. I've sent 8 texts.
In
that
my
have not been
personal
answered.
opinion, whoever that
Each
guy
one
is
with
from
new
Toronto
content.
Ultra,
Jokes. Last night was a
bro,
serious question. Not a
here's what you
single
don't
answer,
do. You don't break the
from
fucking
org order.
rules,
So
man.
I'm not sure if they were focused
And
on
you
filming the
fucking,
content.
I know all the leaks were happening, and I know you sold the players to us.
HyDra Scrap's going to be fun.
Not a great situation, I'm sure. But
Fuck
you,
me.
it's like,
Ghosty
bro, you
gotta wake
fucking,
up
you
happy.
just told everybody that they're coming to
He was
LA
walking
Thieves.
in
You
and
didn't even
dapping
let
up
us
Cramp
do our
and
fucking
JoeDeceives.
announcement,
JoeDeceives
bro.
looks like he walks around with a lunchbox.
I just think the etiquette
And now he's
there
walking
and
into
just
HyDra,
morally,
Scrap, and Envoy.
that's
Now that
dirty
is a
pool,
team
bro. I don't fuck with that.
That's going to make some waves.
You know, even when we've sold players, even when
OpTic's
we've
still better.
moved on from
God
players,
damn it,
we always
Green
keep
Wall,
our
let's get
fucking
gifted.
yappers shut
Confident in
so
our
that the
boys.
team
Greg,
and the players can
obviously
have
a
their
lot
moment,
of,
bro. And you just fucking
A lot of decompression this offseason.
said, fuck it, I don't
Probably
care.
spent around
Piece of shit, bro.
$70,000
Straight up.
in
I don't even know why I haven't blocked, but I found out,
touring the
like,
world, and I'm
for
very
good
jealous of
reason.
him.
What a fucking douchebag.
One thing we need to do,
Straight up,
though,
point blank period.
is
You just don't do
try
that.
and